All right, folks, we are back with another episode of Equation of Excellence. And boy, do we have a heater. The man with the plan. Here we go, Rubin. Ari's one of my really, really good friends, runs all the crazy, wacky marketing in air. They just closed the B. They backed the Brinks truck up. The Masters of New York. Ari, you're just one of my favorite humans, dude. And I think you absolutely have the best marketing brain I've ever been around. The Rizzler campaigns. I got to tell you though, the Dropbox protest was that's still top for me. That was incredible because if you didn't know, you didn't know. And you're like, why are these old people protesting? I mean, it was exquisite. But Ari, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks for having me, man. Long time listener. First time caller, pleasure.
Yeah. And we actually had an incredible episode, but it was too hot that Riverside somehow magically cut us off. So this is part 2, people. This is how committed the man is to the bit that he came on twice now and only getting one episode out of it. So I really appreciate all your patience and flexibility. But for the people that live under a marketing rock, Ari, give the people the backstory, because I think you actually have one of the most fascinating backstories in marketing, especially at the elite level, because you have, I would wager, one of the most unique paths to leading marketing at a Series B company, crushing it.
Well, first of all, thank you. Those are very kind words from a very kind man. So always a pleasure, man. Yeah, dude, I lead content and communications here at Air. All of our sort of creative campaigns that we've been doing over the last 2.5, 3 years sort of come out of our lab. And before that, though, this is my first tech company, first B2B SaaS company. Before that, I was at a gas station chain in Iowa, the illustrious Come and Go, RIP, KUM and Go. They sold to Maverick.
But
I did their social. Yeah. It was actually pretty tasty for them. But family-run business. I did that for 3 years. I did their social and had an extraordinary amount of fun doing that. It was like a really absurd, really enjoyable space. Before that, I was in the International Committee of the Red Cross in Switzerland. I led digital content for them for 3 years, which is obviously like kind of the polar opposite of Come and Go. But that was, again, a pretty extraordinary opportunity to tell stories from some of the hardest countries in the world, hardest hit countries in the world, dealing with, man-made catastrophe and humanitarian crisis. And before that, I was in the UN for 5 years doing digital content and communications. I was in Uganda as a journalist before that, trying to be a journalist and failing spectacularly, although you can find my articles in Huffington Post from 22 years ago or something. And
look for that byline.
Yeah, look for that old byline, man. Those are hot. I used to make about $100 when I was in Uganda and ran out of money and came back home. So that's the world. Yeah.
Dude, that's so incredible. How do you, I'm going to steal this line from you because you dropped it on the podcast that shall not be published. But how'd you go from Cokes and, what'd you say, call it? Cokes and Smokes?
Cokes and Smokes, yeah. That's what they call the biz.
That's the biz. To the UN, to marketing. How do you connect these worlds? Because for me, me and you kind of joke offline about this at the end of the day, dude. We're not making medicine. We're not doing these things of sending people to Mars or dude, at the end of the day, we're selling zeros and ones. And yes, you care about your job. I care about my job. We're very passionate about what we do, but it isn't anywhere near the gravity of emotion that is in real life events, such as what you're dealing with in the UN or the Red Cross.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely was in a different part of my life when I was doing that work. I was younger. I didn't have kids, and I was single for most of that. And it was just a bit easier to kind of do work that was a bit, I think, more maybe riskier and a bit more dangerous, but also maybe I was a bit more idealistic. Maybe I was a bit more naive, but I really felt like that work at the time was really important. And I thought that storytelling, those stories really mattered. And I think it does. But I guess my point is that whether I was in the UN or the Red Cross, literally in Iraq or South Sudan, or I was in Iowa telling a story about an activation around a breakfast pizza special, or I'm at Air working with the Rizzler on a basketball court, making a fake Steve Jobs ad with Kareem Rama. The thing is, and I really do believe this, and not to sound cynical or cavalier, but it's kind of all the same. And it's now I'm selling ones and zeros. Before I was selling Coke and smokes the drink Coke. And then before that, I was selling, selling at least the idea of why you should support this cause, right? Like a
Yeah.
really powerful cause. And what I'm really doing though is like, you're on your phone and I need to get you to stop for like a quarter of a second. And that's only become harder, right? And like, I love the challenge of like, I didn't know what Air was when I joined Air, the company. I met
Yeah.
Shane. I really kind of like was enamored of him and found him to be really charismatic. And I was like, I would love to figure out a way to market this. Whatever this thing that you're doing is really fascinating to me. And I think in a way, like when you're working in the humanitarian space, like it's pretty powerful. You're like, yo, these kids need help. And that's a really
Yeah.
powerful story to tell. And like you do that and you're like, okay, like I really like want to challenge myself as a storyteller, as a marketer, as a communications person, as a campaigner. Like, how do you sell breakfast pizza in Missouri? Can you do that? Like, you think you're pretty
Yeah.
good? Like, I won Webbies at the Red Cross. I felt really good about it. I was like, okay, can I do this thing at a gas station? I did okay there, and I was like, cool. Can I do this in B2B SaaS? Like, maybe the hardest category, frankly,
Yes.
of all. Right? You
Yes.
know better than anyone. To get how do you make people give a fuck about a software platform that they don't? It's not like we're not like you said, we're not curing cancer. So I don't know. To me, I love that challenge, and that's what keeps me going.
No, it's beautiful. Steve Jobs had a great line where storytellers are the most powerful people in the world. And because I also have the thesis that, dude, people experience the world in stories. Like, I think people have already bought, like, I think the purchase already happens in the mind.
Yeah,
And then it's our job as marketers to give them the story that they can tell themselves post hoc of why they're so smart for buying this, why they bought this, why they can tell their partner they're the most brilliant person on the planet because now I'm not using Google Drive like a barbarian. I have air. I'm a person of culture and sophistication,
yeah.
not some savage clicking around in 78 different
Just
horrible color palettes. But no, that's beautiful, man. I think that's awesome. I did a stint at a nonprofit, and transparently, it was just the most horrific experience I've ever had. It is
why?
the one, I was in a really terrible part of my life, so there might have been some just peripheral stuff, but also I knew I was talented and I knew I had skills, and I felt like I wasn't living my truth, but I needed a job.
Yeah,
Like, shout out my mom, wonderful, wonderful woman. But I had moved back in with her, went to like a coding camp, was doing all this stuff. And after 2 months of living with her, she was like, "Hey, mijito, you have a month to move out. This isn't who you are. Figure it the fuck out." And my mom loved me. My mom was like my number one fan,
yeah,
but she also knew like, hey, this environment is not going to build you, and you
yeah,
need to get out, and you need to go find a place of your own, and you need to go, basically figure it the fuck out. I'm not going to support you. Like, you need to go do that. So I had to get a job, and I got a job at a nonprofit, and it was bad. But I will say, for people out there that aren't at the place they want to be, what really helped me was all that anger and frustration that you feel getting yelled at by a person that's way dumber than you. That is just, dude, use that. There's two paths that goes. One, you go down to the victim, boohoo, and then you're never getting anywhere. Or two, hey, this is motivation that I'm going to use every minute of my day to build skills and build ways to generate value so I can move up in the world. That's what I did, man. Just started watching YouTube videos, time either at work or time off or whatever. I'd get my stuff done and do that. I remember so vividly. Um, I obviously wasn't doing really well financially, but I had to dress up for this job. And I, I live in Austin, and it gets hot in the summers, and my car AC went out.
ooh,
And I had to drive an hour one way, an hour back the other way. An hour back doesn't matter because it's like, okay, who cares? I'm sweaty going home. But
yeah,
sweating in like a certain tie
nightmare.
in Texas heat, sitting in, because not only that, you're sitting in traffic, and that, like the heat kind of radiates off the pavement when you're in traffic and you have all the exhaust. And I just remember, man, this is just, I have to change. I have to get better at this. I have to do this. And then finally, I was able to get some marketing prowess under my belt and moved into doing marketing at a luxury real estate firm. And then that then moved me into Whole Foods when I made it to the big leagues. Shout out to Andres, the recruiter there, who hired me, where he's like, "Hey, most people wouldn't hire you because you have all these like jumps on your resume, but I just realized that you were just moving up in the world, and I thought that I'd want to give you a chance," and ended
Wow.
up winning employee of the year there, did a really great job there. So anyways, that's not to aggrandize me. It's more so for people out there. It happens slower than you think and then faster than you think. So the best advice I could give people is, man, just keep sharpening the sword. And I think people fail for two reasons. They stop knocking at the door of opportunity because they get tired, bored, whatever,
Hmm.
or when the person answers, they're not prepared. And so I
Hmm.
made sure that I was always knocking, that I was going to be prepared when my number got called.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But that's my
Like,
TED talk. Go
hey,
subscribe, like the channel.
I love it.
Um, so how do you think about your crazy campaigns? I mean, you've done Dropbox, the Rizzler, even the sophisticated ones that you guys did with Chase Bank. Like those were, I mean, 12 out of 10 production value.
Thanks,
But
man.
how, like, what goes through your brain? Like, give us a peek into that big wacky Rube Goldstein machine in there.
The yeah, I mean, I think that part of, again, why I joined this organization, why I feel pretty lucky to be here still, is that I think that there aren't many early stage startups that are going to take a risk on brand and say,
Yeah.
actually, and then when about 6 months into after I joined, in fact, cut marketing spend by like 90% and
Yeah.
we're going to go all in on brand. Um, Most would be like, let's just hammer those meta ads, baby. Like, let's keep that machine going. And like, I get it, dude. Like, building brand at a startup company isn't always, and you and I met because you were one of the few other people in the space that I could connect with. Immediately was like, this guy's trying. Like, this guy's trying. And because there aren't that many, or at least maybe then there weren't. Maybe there are more now. But at least like 3 years ago when I started, I really felt like I could have counted on one hand the number of guys that I thought were doing it, the number of people that I thought were doing it.
I still agree with you too.
And maybe it's still that case. I
You can
mean,
hear the boat shoes and khakis in B2B SaaS. Like, it's so
you
fucking
can,
boring.
well, I think you can hear the boat shoes and khakis. And now, actually, if it's worse, it's because you just get a bunch of AI fucking slop now too. So it's like
That's what we're talking
you're
about. The
like,
robots
like
coming.
a bunch of chuds, and then you've got like shit that's just fake by like robots clicking robot. And I'm like, there's no fucking vibes, man. But like, you were out there making like reality TV and shit, and I was like, okay, this man's trying, making cost caps and stuff. And like, I think that for me, it was like, look, like Shane didn't have to do that. Doesn't have to be like, hey, let's make this kind. But Shane really wants to build a company that does it because I think he really enjoys it, and I really enjoy
Yeah.
it, so we get along well. But also, our customer is that person, and
Yes.
we're gonna win creatives, creative directors, CMOs, founders, people who really
Yes.
care. These are people who care about brand. They fucking obsess about it. Like, if I'm going to win you, and I've won you twice now as a customer, I'm going to win you because, like, yeah, you can get Air, and you can probably get like 20 other servers that do more or less what Air does. And I think Air is the best. Don't get me wrong, but like, there's plenty of fucking tools out there, like
Yes.
as in every space, in fintech and fucking insurance. But brand, and it's cliche, but brand can really be a moat. And I think it's something that, to your point, like, people make the decision, but they want the story. And I think we can help tell that story. To me, it was like, there's a lot of fun ways to differentiate. Like, I'm not seeing a
Yes.
whole lot from Binder and Brandfolder and Canto and Dropbox and Google Drive on the brand side. Like, I'm just not seeing anything, actually. I'm seeing
Yep.
accounts with 2 million followers and 1 like on Instagram. And I'm like, there's something here that's not clicking, and it's bad. And like, our audience isn't like a bunch of dullards. They're like the most interesting people in the world. They're
Yes.
interesting people who make great brands. And like, I'm like, we could probably win them over by talking to them where they are with stuff that they like. And that's, you know, 3 years later, we 3x rev and raised 35 million. Like, I don't know. It's doing all right.
Maybe this actually
Maybe
works.
it works, man. I
Uh,
don't know.
Dude, I couldn't agree with you more.
We try.
I think the cheat code, and I've been so fortunate, and to be fair, this has been a intentional. So like, yes, fortunate, but also intentional.
Yeah.
If you have an Ari brain, when you're interviewing, you can tell because everything is going to come down from the CEO.
Yeah.
You can tell if the CEO is into it or not.
Yeah.
And if they're not into it, just don't go. Because if you don't have CEO buy-in,
Yeah.
you're just a round peg in a square hole. There's just never going to work. I mean, the perfect example, which is both of ours kind of muses, was Liquid Death.
Yeah.
Like Mike was crazier than Hamid and all these other CMO. Mike was crazy.
Yeah.
Mike's ideas were wild, pissing on a fucking thing, sending pit. Like, he's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
but that's what it took. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
so I think the thing is, some people will get into systems and situations that they just don't have the ability to impact change. And I think Shane, and like, again, shout out to my previous gig, Max and AJ were super awesome about letting me build a brand that
Yeah.
really resonated with our customers, broke us out of that kind of just really boring B2B SaaS. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, when you live your truth and you are who you are, we were kind of joking on the other podcast, bring your whole self to work. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. I was actually part of that Whole Foods campaign, but whatever. Uh, no, bring your best self to work. And
Yeah.
like, your best self is going to be who you are.
Yeah.
And if you have to start, like, if I'm like, Ari, why isn't our life cycle going better? What are we doing? We need more one pagers. Why isn't there more gated content? It's like, dude, that's just not me. That's not where I'm going to thrive. So I
Yeah.
think, at the end of the day, your environment is everything.
Yes.
And if you don't have buy-in from the top, you can be the most brilliant marketer on the planet.
Yep.
But there was somebody that said this to me, and this line was just so good, that the worst thing you can do as a talented person is stay at the wrong company.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good because, again, I don't get a lot of value out of judgment. So I'm
Mm.
not saying anybody's right or wrong. It's their business. They can run it how they want. But find the places that you can make real impact, I think, is so important. And again, like I just told you, the nonprofit story, you do what you have to do when you have to do it,
Yep.
but take it upon yourself to build skills and value to then be able to have the ability to choose where you want to work. I mean, like, here, it's back here for people that are just listening, not watching. I'm pointing to the air campaign they did with literal canned air. I mean,
Yeah.
all the stuff you guys have been doing just have been incredible. And I think that, ironically, I agree with you. Brand can be a moat, very hard to build, but it absolutely can be a moat. And I think it's actually one of the most important moats in a commoditized market,
Yeah.
because you can't have product differentiation because everybody essentially has essentially the same product.
Yes.
SMS, like, there's only so much stuff you can do in SMS. That's why I love PostScript. We love the guys at PostScript. I think Mike is one of the just blue flame thinkers over there. And so, yeah, dude, I love what you've been building. I love what you've been
Yes, man.
building.
Well, I just
How,
was, I think you're right. Just that, that point about like this, and I think like Apple's a cliched example at this point, but like it's just, like stuff brand matters and telling values, storytelling is about marketing and values, and people want to, and the point about like this, the thing about Shane that I appreciate, I've said this to him before, is that like I'll pitch Shane an insane idea and I'll be like, hey man, I want to, and Shane will be like, he'll like listen to me and he'll be like, all right, he'll call me back. He'll be like, that's fine. Then I'll call me back 10 minutes later. He goes, we should get a billboard. Fuck it. He's like, we should actually get a billboard for that. And like, he'll be like, we should, or like we did this thing, we did this thing with Kareem where we did a fake, like this fake, we made him a chief imagination officer, which I won't say, this like kind of fake title. And we did this whole bit where he was like,
it's so good.
and it was like, and we did this interview where Kareem talked about how he met Shane, and it's just like tells this whole story about Burning Man, and they're with Brian Chesky and Elon's there, and they're all doing a vision quest on acid, and like this whole story, which is like a lie. And the funniest part was when I met. Actually, I'm not gonna tell that story. I just realized I shouldn't tell that story.
Okay.
It's fine. It's not that big of a
It's good.
deal, but I just
It's good.
realized that it involves it involves a fundraiser. I won't say.
And
It.
we're moving.
Anyway, it
And
was
we're
a very
moving.
cool time. And what were you asking me?
Yeah, no, I thought that was really interesting. And dude, to be fair though, I think Apple has taken some really weird paths on their marketing. I think that, I don't know, it's been really interesting. But when Jobs was there, it was just, for as horrible as a human he was, dude, he was just top tier
Yeah,
brander,
probably not the best. Probably not winning dad of the year, but like
top tier CEO, man.
crushing
He
it.
was just such
Yeah,
an incredible leader. And I think that's, yeah, I mean, everything's going to, dude, at the end of the day, especially at growth stage companies, the company is the founder. Like,
yeah,
everything, the culture is going to be what the founder cares about.
yeah,
The metrics are going to be what the founder cares about. That's what he's looking at. And I think that unless you are the founder, your job is to make your boss happy.
yeah,
But circling back to what you're talking about with Shane, I encourage all the people leading marketing, VPs, CMOs, heads of marketing, whatever. Your job is to make the CEO or whoever you roll up to say no.
mm,
Like, you want to have these crazy,
mhm,
wacky ideas where, like, that's the whole point. Because I think that's when you have such a strong leadership team like Air, where you have these kind of, I call it almost like helicopter partners,
mm,
where the way a helicopter works is you have the main rotor. The main rotor lifts the helicopter up,
Mm,
but that will turn the helicopter and you just spin out. So you
mm-hmm.
actually need a rear rotor, which actually goes in reverse to keep the helicopter from spinning. And that way you can go up. And so when you have that, you get these really incredible outcomes because you have lift, but you also have stability. So you can go and go very high, but you can still go straight. So I think
Yeah,
that's, I don't know, take some risks, man. I think it's fun. And it's not like you should bet, oh, I'm going to bet 100% of my marketing budget on the Rizzler kind of thing. It's not like to say you should do that,
yeah,
but you should have some fun, man. And honestly, I
yeah,
think people do the best work when you have fun.
yeah,
And there's a great line where it's not about the weight of the load, it's how
mhm,
you carry it. And man,
yeah,
when you're working with cool people and you're doing fun work, like at Triple Whale, we had pretty liberal in office policy in Austin. All the offices had their own kind of policies, but out of the Austin office where all the marketing was out of, it was butts and seats Monday through Thursday, 10 to 3.
yeah,
Because I just find, dude, people do their best work in that 10 to 3.
yeah,
They're locked in, they're doing it. It gave people, whether they want to do a morning workout, get their morning ritual in,
yeah,
and then if they need to go for a doctor's appointment or just leave work early so they don't hit traffic. And what I found was, because it wasn't a requirement, these were people were working till 6, 7, 8 p.m. just fucking grinding. I mean, I remember Alexa, Tom, like everybody just putting in the work because we were having fun, man.
yeah.
And I think there's just so much to that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, dude. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's like, there's just so much. I don't really understand why it's like, not that everything needs to be wacky in marketing or crazy, but like,
Correct.
it should be fun to do it. And like, you should, it's like, again, we're not curing cancer. We're selling SaaS. Like, let's try to make it a bit more engaging and try to make it a bit more fun. And yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a no brainer. I don't know. I'd be really miserable if I wasn't, I'd rather, and again, having the creative freedom is so much more important to your point about like the good person at the wrong company. Like, if you don't, I would take creative freedom and small budget over endless budget and like endless stakeholders I had to get approval from, right? Like, that to me is not a way to do it. So, the real privilege in life is to be able to work at a company that trusts you to do your job.
Ooh, that's a bar. Yeah,
That's what,
one of my friends, shout out Les, he actually just started his newsletter, so I'll see if I can drop a link into it. But he was writing about the Jaguar rebrand, horrible. But he had a great line in there, and he said, "Marketing is art, not an art project." And I
mm,
loved that. I thought it
mm,
was so good because what you're talking about is art. Like everybody on the outside sees this weird, wacky, again, I love the Dropbox thing, but all the out of the box things that you've done.
yeah,
But at its core, you're like, Shane, I understand our consumers. I
yeah,
understand the language they speak. I understand where they live, and I understand what's going to resonate with them.
yeah,
Let's package that up into the most impactful deliverable. And I'm going to tell you, it's not blowing 100K on meta ads with fucking talking heads or
yeah,
download this white paper. It's
yeah,
getting the Rizzler in a Steve Jobs commercial. It's
yeah,
fucking getting Kareem as the chief magician officer. Like
yeah,
those, it's suffocating creatives
yeah,
in
yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
boardroom.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I think that's so.
yeah,
I think people can sometimes think that, or when you're kind of wild and wacky, people will forget that, dude, we're students of the game, man. We're not just
yeah,
out here doing dumb shit. Like
yeah,
there's a method to the madness, and if
yeah,
you lose that, that's when you tip into art project.
yeah,
But when you keep that, that's when you create art because you're blending this intersection of data and understanding and empathy with action. And I
yeah,
think that's just the most fun thing to do where you got to know your customer and you got to know how to talk to your customer. And being able to do that at a really high level to me is what marketing is. Sales is one to one. You need to sell to that person.
yeah.
Marketing is one to many. You need to sell to that cohort of people that you're talking to. And I think you do it the best.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I think just it's like it's easy. I think some people are like, wow, like it's just like wacky shit over it. But it's like I'm old. I've been doing this shit for like 18 years,
Right?
man.
Same.
Like I've been, and again, it's also I learned it at the Red Cross under the UN. I learned it at
Exactly.
worked at Vanity Fair. I've worked at tons of places. I'm 40, man. I've been doing this for a
Yes.
long fucking time, and
Yes.
it doesn't say that I'm an expert because I don't think you ever are. But I do think it's like there's a method to that madness, and to pivot on that, I think there's also this interesting challenge of like I think about this a lot. I mean, as again, I turned 40, so I got like very in my head on it. But I'm like,
Yes.
what is the job of a person who's 40 who's building a brand, like how do you stay connected to culture? What is your role in a
Yeah.
world in which you're no longer at the center of it? That was
Yeah.
20 years ago. And so how do you become, and I think the answer to that, which I'm developing in my head, I hope it's true, is that you get this, having that experience like people like you and I have, gives us a really good sense of judgment and curation that I think AI and kids both lack. And I think that
Yes.
the ability to do that, I hope, help us, not saying that we're continuing our career, because I think that that's going to be a challenge as AI becomes more and more dominant in the space. The ability to have good taste and know what works and have a good sense of that, I think will hopefully, I hope, I mean, I'm just like saying this out loud, so I know
No,
it's true.
I mean, I'm getting the producer in the ears saying to turn up the heat because we keep agreeing with each other. But I think you're spot on, because I think everything is going to be automated away up until taste matters,
Yeah,
candidly.
totally.
And I actually just wrote on a LinkedIn post. Go over there, get on LinkedIn, go pump up those numbers if you're not a bot. And that's exactly what my conclusion was. Is I think taste is now going to be the most valuable piece in the value chain.
Yeah,
Where a friend of mine, Alex P, she's wonderful. She calls it accountability. I think taste sounds more highfalutin, so I like it better. But it's accountability, because at the end of the day, Ari, why did you choose what you chose?
mm,
Because of my taste.
hmm,
And you're accountable for your choices.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think what people don't understand as well is when you have a really good boss, you're not only accountable for your actions, you're accountable for your inactions.
mm,
Why didn't we do that? Why are we missing out on these things?
mm,
But I couldn't agree with you more on taste, because that's one of my theses, is that I think handmade goods are going to become new status symbols. I think
yeah,
the imperfection of humanity is going
hmm,
to be seen as a feature, not a bug. And I think that's going to be beautiful, because I think we're going to get in a really amazing optimized world.
yeah,
But I'll tell you, the most miserable people in the world are optimizers,
yeah,
because you're always trying to inch out that little more, versus satisficers of like doing what you want to do
yeah,
and being satisfied with your work is a much better way to live. And I think where we land as well is, depending on the stage of the company you're at, there's a great framework called stars and sentinels. And so what that means is that stars are like an Ari, where you can build this incredible company. Shane is a star. You guys are building these incredible companies. But once you build an incredible company, you need to start hiring sentinels
mm,
that can then guard the core of that company. And those are more of those optimizers. They're not looking for 10x, 20x, 100x returns. They're trying to eke out. Those are your life cycle marketers. Those are those people that are like, hey, we had a 5% boost here, a 10% boost here. And again, they're necessary, but sequencing matters. At a growth
yeah,
company, if you hire optimizers, dude, you're not going to make it. It's
no,
just a different mindset. And one of my favorite lines is horses for courses. Use the right horse on the right course. And if you put an optimizer in a growth organization, or you put a growth person in an optimizer organization, it goes back to what we were talking about. Put yourself in the environment that you have the highest probability to succeed. But yeah, I don't know. The AI stuff is really interesting. It's the first time, because I'm your age too. I'm 39, going to be 40 in April.
yeah,
And I've seen so much. Like when I was growing up, dude, the internet was like, I had dial up, AOL
yeah,
disk and stuff.
sure,
Beep, like there's flip phones. Like the
yeah,
kids will never understand the absolute euphoria of just flaming somebody
yeah,
and rage hanging up in the flip. It
totally,
was just exquisite. It was the
yeah,
best.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
AI is one of those weird ones where we've never had a technological revolution that displaced skilled labor. It's
yeah,
always been unskilled labor.
yeah,
And now it's like, I don't know about you, dude, but man, I've been just blown away. Like, for example, our director of marketing, Lex, is literally went to BC private school, one of the top schools in the country. Super eloquent. I mean, one of the most well written person I know. Like, she is exquisite at writing, and she would fight me about AI. And I'm like, hey, try some AI, try some AI, try some AI. And finally, she broke down. Now she builds out all of her case studies and stuff, puts it through Claude, and they are phenomenal. They
yeah,
are so good.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
for me, I think people that are Luddites about AI are going to be the same people that were Luddites about the internet, but
yeah,
probably 100x worse, because the internet was great, but it was a democratizing, where AI is great. But now, like, I mean, you're seeing fucking prompt engineers as a job.
yeah,
And it's becoming like that's becoming the technical literacy needed to succeed in this world. And that's just such a weird thing to me, because
Yeah.
I can't tell again if I'm old or what, because this is the first time where I'm like, dude, I had MP3s. I was always on the bleeding edge, and I
Yeah.
never felt this until AI, where it's like, even the internet, I was like, this will change the world, but not transform the world.
Yeah.
This is going to transform, I think, everything, dude.
Yeah.
Even down to the social contract of like, if I write you, like, the thought experiment I always give people is like, if your goal is to make your partner super happy and you know they love poems
Mm.
and you're a terrible poet, but you might know everything about this person, right? Because you keep like a little notes app or something of like, oh, I know my partner likes X, Y, and Z. And then I put that notes, those parameters into ChatGPT or whatever your drug of choice is. And then it outputs this Khalil Gibran style poem. And then
Mm.
they read it and they're
Mm.
just sobbing tears of joy.
Yeah.
And then you tell them AI helped you write it. And then they get mad at you. Like, where you get where I'm going? Like,
Is that a
what
real
is the,
story? Is that a story that came from real life, Rabbi? I feel like that's.
no, I would never.
Have you?
Well, if it did, I would never say. I would never divulge that I did the AI. I would just take the credit. But I think, and when people get mad, though, I kind of push back, and more in like a seeking to
Yeah.
understand way of, what do you think editors do?
Yeah.
Like, all these authors don't write word for word.
Right.
They write what's called a manuscript, and
Yeah.
then I go, "Hey, Ari, I finished the manuscript. Can
Yeah.
you edit it?"
Yeah.
And then you edit it, and then that's the final product.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting to me to see, like, where are you going to draw the line
Yeah.
where AI, and then when do you need to disclose
Yeah.
AI? Because like, I might touch something up in Photoshop. Is that AI? Or like, if I generate something direct, and do you get where I'm going, right?
Oh,
It's
for
just
sure.
so blurred, and I
I'm
don't have the
hiring
answer.
every job application I get now. I'm almost certain is AI.
Has-
I'm like reading it, and it's just like it. But I guess I'm not. I mean, my thing with AI also. I mean, I don't think it's about opposing or being said. It simply is, and they're like, it's just like the internet. It's not like really like you could be like, I don't like it or I love it, and it's like cool. It's the It's the water we swim in now. Like, so fucking better learn it, figure out what the fuck it is, and
right?
how to use it for sure. I do think there's this. I do have this kind of vague concern. Like I see it in LinkedIn, I think as well, which is like if everything is written by AI and then the comments are AI, and like if we all like similarly, like if Lex writes an incredible case study by AI and then I'm get the case study and I go, Claude, summarize this case study for me, and I'm reading AI, and maybe soon I'll be like, I don't even want to read the summary anymore. Like, where does it end? I agree with you. The social, I'm like, and that's more of a thought thing where I'm like, where the fuck does it end? And what does content
Yes.
even mean in a world where it's
Yes.
all just AI in to AI summary to
Yes.
AI this to AI, and then
Yes.
I'm like, where do we even go? What am I supposed to
Yes.
do? And I don't know the answer to that.
Taste. Index
Taste,
on taste.
back to taste, baby.
Taste. Index on taste. But I'm with you.
Make sure.
It becomes this kind of there we go. See, for people that are listening, Ari is gracefully showcasing our FMRT launch. We did in the spirit of Ari's incredible marketing, we did a whole SaaS couture line called Style as a Service. Gangster.
Surpass anything. This
It
is
was great. We did the launch party, the whole thing. And again, to the people that are like, Rob, you just fucking blow money on dumb shit. No, we actually built the whole thing on Fermat, the company I work for, and it absolutely landed. It was an exquisite success. So we were really, really happy with that. But yeah, the AI, it's kind of what's the old line? Turtles all the way down, where you're just
yeah.
like, I don't know. You're
Uh,
right, man. Is there any areas that you're excited about, or like, how are you guys? Because honestly, the AI stuff you guys are working on at Air is really cool. Candidly,
yeah.
that's why we signed up at Fermat. We're like, dude,
Yeah.
this is amazing, where we don't really have to
Yeah.
think of organizational structure
Yeah.
anymore, where we can just be like, hey, I need an FMRT photo of a woman, or an FMRT photo of the banker bag.
Yep.
Boom. And now I can get it. And it's been honestly transformative for us. But
Amazing.
like, I guess, how are you thinking of it in terms of through the lens of Air?
Yeah, I think that if I make the distinction, and again, between generative AI for content, which I'm still not sure how I feel about it, to be honest with you. I'm not
I
sure where I land.
Either.
I don't know. I haven't all the source stuff. Like, I'm not against it, but I'm not in love with it. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'll leave that. I look at AI for productivity and AI in terms of like, find me this thing easier or help me do this thing faster or better. To me, that's a fucking no brainer.
No
And
brainer.
Air does that, I think, in a really cool way, in a really obvious way, I think, in many ways, in a way that I can do on my phone, frankly. Like,
Yes.
on my photos, I was like, well, I think our thing was always like, why is it no damn doing what iPhone photo can do for me really well? I want to find a
Yes.
picture of my brother in Iowa. I just write Iowa and I can click my brother, like facial recognition is there. It should be obvious. OCR is there. It should be obvious. Those things
Yes.
that are like table stakes, Air does that. And I think it crushes. And like, to me, that stuff throughout, and throughout all of our productivity tools, all of our software, whether it's in Slack or in Air or in whatever, like, I think that's just a win. And so I think that will continue to be a thing that we continue to build on. I think our customers seem to really enjoy it. Obviously, like, it saves you a bunch of time, man.
Yeah.
Finding shit is a huge bottleneck for creative and marketing teams. Uh,
Yeah. Not only finding shit, but I guess kind of a function of finding shit, but like having the, for lack of a better term, discipline for. I worked with a guy, or not worked with him, excuse me, Rob Frazier's buddy. I'm forgetting his name. I'm sorry. You were really awesome and I loved you, but he did a stint at Red Bull.
mm,
And dude, Red Bull literally would take just terabytes of footage
yeah,
on when they do like the Felix drop or any kind of things that they do,
yeah,
and it takes them 2 days to catalog everything because it
crazy.
has to be perfect. Like,
Yeah,
this is the date, this is the shot, this is
yeah,
the camera, like
yeah,
everything is in the nomenclature versus
yeah,
like, if you could just cut out 2 days of work once you shoot and upload and then it all passively does it in Air, it's
yeah,
like that's the show to me. And so that's where I think you're right,
yeah,
where I do get tripped up. And like we said, we'll leave that conversation for some think vapor and whiskeys, but the arts is interesting. The
yeah,
arts is really interesting because I think it will be taste, but how much are people going to value human creation?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's a really interesting, because the arts is uh it's a reflection of our humanity, but at the same time I also sound like, a guy yelling at the sky, old man
totally.
yelling at the sky, because
Yes, I will.
everybody's like, Britannia, Encyclopedia Britannica is humanity,
Yeah,
it's dead trees with ink on it, why am I going to use Wikipedia? No, you're going to ruin the world, God
yeah,
is dead. And it's like, wow. So that's where I'm trying to work through. I can't figure it out, because I agree with you, man. I think it's a really, but at the end of the day, I think, dude, the best time to be alive is the
yeah,
time you're alive.
yeah, yeah.
You're not alive any other time, so fuck it, make the best of it. And
Here,
I
here.
do get really excited though about, and we'll move on from AI after this, but the last thing is I do get really excited about one of the things that makes humans the apex predator of the world
Mm,
is the ability to run Monte Carlo simulations. I can run these simulations, and so the ability to test, like if I was a kid and I was looking to go into school, I
yeah,
would go into chemistry and biology and AI,
yeah,
because I think there's going to be incredible breakthroughs coming where you can expedite different simulations. You can, even architecture can be crazy, right? Like where
yeah,
you can run all these simulations and the math that is needed would
yeah.
have taken 100 years, and now it might take a day,
I know.
where it's like, dude, I can like, so I think there's going to be incredible stuff coming out of the biosciences, where you can really find some really awesome things that human biology we haven't been able to test, because the testing cycles have been so long,
Yeah,
and you can't test that many things, versus being able to put in a genome and then sequence it and test it in days versus 10 years it truly is. I know this word's overused, but a transformative technology.
yeah, yeah. 100%. It's wild. It's crazy.
Okay, let's wrap it up. What are you excited about? What's on your radar? What are you pumped up for 2025? What got you all hot and bothered?
What am I excited about? I'm excited. I mean, look, we raised this series. We raised a $35
Yeah.
million Series B at the beginning of this month.
Yeah.
It felt like again, like just
We're so
many.
back.
Yeah, we're so back. Huge, from like being on the ropes of an SVB collapse to
Yes.
coming back like fucking Lazarus out of the ashes.
Yes.
It's a pretty,
Great
when you work in
reference.
this space, it's just it's a real roller coaster. So I'm not, the victory laps aren't too long
Yep.
ever in SaaS, so it's like we're pretty much back to it. But like I still am really optimistic. I think about this company and the stuff we're going to do, and the fact that I think we're hiring some really cool roles, and we're going to bring in some really
Love
interesting
that.
people, and we're going to like we've been doing a lot with a little for a really long time, and I want to maintain the spirit of that. I want to continue doing it.
Yes.
Some pretty out of the box ideas that we have already cooking, and I can't divulge too much, but like some things that I think are going to come out in hopefully February, March that I think will really. I think again, I think we'll have a bigger stage. I think we have some more, hopefully some more budget to be able to really,
Yeah.
part of, I think, the other thing that's really frustrating, especially when you're like building a brand, maybe you're like a 1 or 2 person band, right? Like
It's a lot.
it's hard because you look at Liquid Death or Duolingo or McDonald's, you're like, man, if I could only have and you're like, I feel like I'm doing cool stuff, but no one really sees it because it's hard.
Yeah.
You're grinding for so long. And so
Yeah.
I hope this year we can really break out. Like, I want to, man, like, I hope we fucking win some fucking awards. I want to get our shit out there. I want people to see it. I think, like, this is the year we own this fucking category and we just go, So I'm optimistic without being cocky, but feeling really excited about the prospects of the brand and the fun things we're going to build.
I love it. Okay, let's wrap up. I ask this at the end of every podcast.
Yeah.
Ari, what is your equation of excellence? What do you think excellence is a function of?
Oh my God, I fucking don't know, dude. I'm like, all I'm ever doing is subtracting. What is my equation of excellence? You just fuck, what is it? You have to really love the thing you do and really you just can't get bored. I think you get bored or lazy, and I think that that's, if you don't love it and you're not having fun and it's not engaging you and sort of challenging you, then you're putting out boring stuff, and that boring stuff begets boring stuff, and that boring stuff begets more laziness, and it becomes a really nasty cycle, I think, where you just start underperforming and doing bad work. And we've all been there. We've all had external things and stressors, and life is, I think, really hard too. Like, I think there's a lot of chaos, and I think we live in a chaotic time. It's pretty unstable and uncertain, but I think, if you can really love what you do and really work with good people, who, like I said, I think kind of people that enable your creative work, especially in our space. And I think that to me is like an unparalleled opportunity. So I just encourage people to find the thing they love and work with great people.
A beautiful answer from an even more beautiful human. Ari Rubin, how can people find you? How can they sign up for AIR? This time is yours, my friend.
Air.inc, baby. Get over there. Come through. Sign up. Say hello. Come hang out. Find me on the LinkedIn. Find me I'm still on X, but I'm not that active. But hit me up on LinkedIn. Hit me up wherever you want. Hit me up on not Instagram, but private Instagram. Don't come at me on Instagram. I don't post on Instagram anymore. I'm the worst. This is the other thing. I gotta get out of this stuff because I'm so bad at social. And I'm like cranky, man. I'm a crank.
I'm the exact same, dude. I haven't posted on Instagram forever, and I get value from Instagram. I haven't found the time. I just been dominated on X, and anyways, but
I know it's like, yeah. So I don't know. Put Air and hang out, or find me on Twitter at RLJ Rubin and DM me.
Amazing. That's Lazarus Project for your Twitters.
I know.
And I will always call it Twitters because I'm old.
Oh, yeah.
Ari, you're the best. Go sign up for AIR. We use it. We love it. I use it at Triple Whale. We loved it there. What else I got for you guys? We are, actually be on the lookout. We're going to do a little something with AIR in Austin. So that should be really fun. We'll get you guys all the deets when everything's finalized. And then go to firmoutcommerce.com, go book a demo, make my boss happy, go make the money printer go burr, make funnels like you make ads. And then what else we got? We got the Geometry of Growth, an exquisite newsletter curated and written by the indomitable Alexa Kilroy, no AI. And we're actually on Beehive now, and we're loving it. So shout out to Tyler. Yeah, HubSpot sucks. Fucking HubSpot's. I don't know. Some of these big SaaS companies just lose the plot, and they just it's terrible. Anyways, I hope nobody from HubSpot is listening. But
our former AIR colleague Francis Zierer over at Beehive and loving it. So
let's go. Yeah, Tyler's a killer dude. And you know what got us going back to your brand? We posted on Twitter. And everybody was like, yes. And we had 3 Beehive people, including Tyler, comment on like, hey, come over to the dark side. The water's just fine. So it was awesome. I love the brand he's building over there. And I love founders because he came out of Morning Brew. So I love founders that are the ICP. So shout out to them, Beehive. Really excited about that. But yeah, you can go sign up for the Geometry of Growth right on firmoutcommerce.com. Just scroll down. There's a big thing to go sign up. And Ari, you're the best, dude. Thank you again for the doubleheader, even though we only got one Joel Embiid style, one game out of you. It's all good.
Pleasure. Thank you for this because
Let's go. You guys got to watch this because it will be posted on the YouTube. If you prefer to listen, we get it. But Ari's hair looks magnificent, and he keeps showcasing our FRMT scarf. So if you actually make it to the end of this and you send me a DM on Twitter, Ari is great. I'll get you an FMRT scarf. I'll ship you one because I love our listeners. All right, folks, that's all we got. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the flip. Bye-bye.
Later.